A very warm welcome to all the attendees. Thank you for joining us in this webinar on leveraging ERP to effectively manage your employee performance. I'm Manali Vyas, your host today for this webinar. This session will be for 45 minutes. This webinar is conducted by Synergita. Synergita is a cloud-based performance management and analytics software which helps you to focus on employee performance, employee engagement, and employee development. I would like to introduce you to the speaker for this session. The first speaker for today's session is Mr. Suyash Deshpande. He is a senior HR leader of a major business process management organization. Suyash is a qualified HR professional, certified professional behavior analyst, TTI USA, and engineer with 10 plus years of strategic and techno-functional experience managing full spectrum of human capital services and solutions across industry. Suyash has handled several functional areas in career, which includes organization structuring, restructuring, business partnering, compensation and benefits, talent acquisition and management, HR automation, employee rewards and recognition initiatives, performance management, succession planning, manpower planning and budgeting, employee engagement, HR policy formulation and review, etc. He is equally passionate about academics and has been visiting faculty at SP Jain FMB and Wellinkers Institute of Management and Development and Research. The second presenter for today's session is Mr. Prabhakar Marimuthu. He is Director of Engineering at Synergita. Prabhakar has more than 15 years of experience with focus on software product engineering, architecture, cloud technology, project management, and customer relations. He is certified project management professional, Oracle certified master, enterprise architect, currently spearheading the engineering activities at Synergita. Prior to Synergita, Prabhakar worked on managing software development projects for various platforms, including J2EE, Mobility, and Microsoft.NET. Now, before handing over the control to Suyash, here are a few housekeeping instructions. All phones are set to mute. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat window located beside the presentation panel. We have received several questions from the registrants which will be answered by the speakers during Q&A session. We will continue to collect more questions during the session as we receive and will try to answer them during today's session. If we are not able to address your queries during the session, you will certainly receive answers via email shortly. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the session. Over to you, Suyash.
Thank you, Manali, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. Okay. ERP happens to be an area of interest, and that's one area which runs across streams, whether HR, whether finance, whether operations, okay, and it kind of impacts the lives of business managers day in, day out. But do we in organizations make most of the ERP investments that are made? Often the ERP investments are made in silos, okay, by typically the technology heads, the CFOs and CEOs. Okay, and it's more of a mandate which comes across the rest of the organization. Okay. And often a lot of people are caught off the guard when an ERP gets implemented, not really looking at what could be the long-term implications and how these applications can be leveraged to the most of its potential. In fact, even before ERP gets implemented, if you look at the state of organizations in most industries today in India, you'll find particularly HR processes are largely manual driven. Okay, they are Excel-based or paper-based procedures. Okay, really tedious, time-consuming, and organizations really struggle in getting most out of their HR functions. What is really critical today is to have an extremely solid platform on the basis of which the HR workflows can be run. And therefore, in my view, automation of HR process is a key factor that organizations sooner or later will have to focus on to sustain their competitiveness, manage their resources, and track their cost efficiently. That in turn will also make HR function more strong. If you ask me today, in a lot of organizations, when I interact with the HR leaders, I understand that 80% of their time goes in the transactional and tactical aspects. Okay, and then what is really left is a 10-20% which hardly lets them to impact to the business. Okay. Now, before we move on to the HR automation, it's important to understand what the core purpose of ERP is. An organization decides to take a call to invest in ERP, usually when it starts growing beyond a sizable number. And when I say sizable number, typically research has indicated that when the organization starts crossing the 500 mark, that is when the thought of implementing ERP really comes. That's when the seed gets planted in terms of implementing ERP. Obviously, by the time the ERP decision is taken, the organization may already have crossed 1,000 headcount mark. Okay, but largely the decision to implement ERP is to bring in standardization to various processes. So whether it's process related to accounts payable, receivables, whether it's process related to the logistics management, whether it's a process related to payroll and some of the HR database management, the crux of the issue is to bring in standardization and streamline processes. Needless to say, implementing ERP is not an easy decision for a simple reason that it involves a lot of cost. It's a huge investment in terms of time, in terms of money, and it goes without saying that CEOs today would look at maximizing their ROIs. Okay, typically, ERPs would cost in Indian context crores of rupees to implement, and time frames could vary anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to have a full-blown ERP in place. Now that the purpose of an ERP is really established, okay, what I really want to place to this group is that while organizations will try to get most out of this investment, okay, often the organizations lose the path when they try to bring in more than what is ERP's core competency. As we stated earlier, that the core competency is to bring in standardization, and therefore an ERP may not necessarily be equipped to manage some of the softer nuances of various processes. And here's where we would like to look at performance management as a process, and how an ERP by itself, when is being used as a performance management tool, more often than not turns out to be a disastrous decision. Okay, and that's again purely because the core purpose of ERP is to streamline processes, not to enhance them further. Okay, so here's a typical HR ERP structure. Largely tries to cover the employee life cycle, right from the recruitment part of it to the employee movements within the organization, whether it's onboarding, transfers, deputations, etc. There is a separation module which is there in the existing ERPs today, and then there is payroll, and then usually ERPs would give a front end where there's an employee self-service and a manager self-service. Now, if you look at any ERP where all these modules are bundled as part of the blueprinting, you realize that these modules are fairly standard and straightforward. So, for example, when you look at a recruitment module, there would be a manpower acquisition process, there'll be a database management process, and there'll be an onboarding process over there, okay, which eventually feeds into the payroll module. However, there are a lot of other aspects which a typical recruitment system would look at, things like the resume parsing functionality, or even for that matter, vendor management, relationship management modules, etc. Okay, the core modules of ERP would not provide you those softer nuances. Similarly, performance management largely would be a straightforward workflow where I upload my goals, I do my feedback in terms of tracking the workflow, and then I just close it in the system. Okay. However, the other aspects like normalization, the other aspects like capturing the meeting details or bringing in the development angle, okay, is something which is not part of the core module. Not to say that these cannot be developed or can't be built in, okay, but my experience suggests that enhancing the existing module of ERP is not only time consuming, but it's also extremely expensive. In fact, I mean, just to give you a perspective, in one of the organizations where we were trying to use the ERP and customize it to our needs, we figured out that towards the end of the entire blueprinting exercise, the cost of these enhancements worked almost equivalent to the cost of ERP itself. And even after that, we were not sure whether the core purpose could be solved. Therefore, when we look at something as specialized as performance management, okay, uh, it is like, you know, the ERP is the left brain and performance management is the right side of the brain. Both are required, both need to complement each other, but they definitely can't be used interchangeably in my experience. Okay, because it again, you know, brings me back to my original point, and which is the whole concept of ERP and performance management is at a very fundamental level different. They're trying to address a different solution. They're trying to address a different problem to begin with. Okay, so while technology is key to enabling the performance management, but when you try to use an ERP itself to deliver performance management, that really, that's a pitfall which the organizations would find difficult to get out of. Again, you know, when you really talk about performance management, it's a policy driven approach. Okay, it's a process which you'll find in many organizations evolves from one cycle to another. ERP, on the other hand, when you make system related changes or process related changes, they're extremely slow. You have to be extremely careful to ensure that those changes do not have an impact on other modules of ERP. Okay, and when you're looking at an ever evolving process like performance management, you know, it makes sense to go for a specialized application as against a standardized one. Uh, Again, when it comes to performance management, the self-service model is extremely important, where the idea is to give ownership to the employee. The idea is for the employee to take ownership of his or her own feedback, okay, and also empower managers to drive performance within their teams or within the organization. Now, when you look at ERP, it's got a very limited user base, partly because it's a license-driven model, and therefore the number of and therefore in most of the organizations you'll find that the licenses are very carefully chosen. It's only for those subject matter experts or the spokes who are managing their processes. Okay, it's not really the core license is not something which is procured for the entire organization. There'll be a front end which is the employee self-service, which is more like a visibility to a very limited portion of ERP, but as far as the core is concerned, that's accessible only to certain highly trained and specialized users. Okay. Having said that, if you look at even the reporting functionalities within ERP, to begin with, they're fairly basic. Okay, whereas a performance management system would require something which is a lot more detail oriented, a lot more elaborate, and you would like to bring in the analytics element to it. And when I say analytics, it's not a reporting part or the MIS part, but it should enable the organizations to get insights about the future in terms of which direction the organization needs to head, how it needs to tweak its performance management so that its targets, long term as well as short term, are met. So then, how do you strike a winning combination? Okay, like I said earlier, that ERP is a very good core. It acts as an extremely good base for anything. Okay, and therefore, okay, if you really look at it from a hub and spoke kind of a model, ERP would form a brilliant core or a brilliant base to the entire organization, and it can act as a bridge between various applications. So you use ERP as a core and you house your performance management module on top of this ERP, which means that the data, the job data history, the organization management, and the employee management modules, which are part of the ERP, are what the performance management tool really focuses on, so that the data flow remains consistent. And then the performance management will have its own workflows which are highly customized to the needs of the organization. What I'm essentially trying to say is that when the ERP becomes your core database, all the data talks to each other. So the data which reflects in performance management in terms of employees is the same thing which will reflect in, let's say, a learning management system. It's the same thing that will reflect eventually in the exit management system. Now, when you have that, then multiple HR systems start talking to each other, okay, through the intermediary aspect of ERP. And therefore, by making ERP the source for performance management, for talent management, for learning management, for recruitment management, exit management, so on and so forth, the organization can gain a greater business value and much better return on investment than using ERP by itself for delivering on these purposes. Another aspect which we need to focus on, in a lot of times there are applications which have statutory implications. Okay, for example, even when it comes to performance management, there is an element of employees going on maternity leave or long leave of absence, and as a result of which you need to continuously tweak the policies in line with the way the act changes. Mind you that if someone on maternity leave, you have to be extremely judicious and careful in terms of how that individual gets rated. Now an ERP certainly will not be able to bring in workflows, okay, which are customized to that extent. But a performance management system can be built, customized, keeping in mind some of these aspects as well, which have statutory implications. So therefore, it'll definitely, the ERP will definitely help you in terms of managing the data better. Okay, when your applications like PMS get linked to ERP and we form an intelligent interface, at the same time, it will also take away the tedious aspect of managing this data if performance management was operating in isolation. Okay, the other reason why performance management or any other HR application should not be operated in isolation is also because ERP provides a very secure access to data, and when it comes to employee data, it is extremely sensitive, and therefore when the base becomes ERP, okay, what flows into PMS can be well regulated, it can be well controlled. Similarly, what gets flowed back from PMS to other applications can get regulated. So the data sensitivity aspect of any application can be well managed when you have an ERP at the core. If you look at any automobile, okay, or a car, okay, what you need to understand is that the car requires an engine. It's important for running the operations of that automobile, but then if you have to really have other features like an air conditioner, or let's say an audio system, or a centralized lock, etc. Okay, those functions are not necessarily done by an engine. It's done by multiple microcontrollers who are specifically designed or specifically coded to provide those features. Okay, if I have to extend that analogy to an organizational context, okay, ERP is that engine. We can't do away with. You need that to provide a robust base and to provide what the organization really needs to do. Okay. At the same time, a performance management system would be that microcontroller which will provide the organization a highly specialized. It will help address the organization the highly specialized need of managing performance. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Suyash. Now I would like to invite Prabhakar to share his views.
Thank you, Monali. Thank you, Suyash. Thanks for sharing all your valuable points. Now I will take a few moments to talk about Synergita. Synergita is a cloud-based employee performance management software. Like many companies in India and the US use this software to build high performance culture within their organizations, which is driven by employee recognition. Let's take a look at the various modules and features available in Synergita. We focus broadly on three categories: employee performance management, employee engagement, and employee development. Under performance management, we like take care of the needs of small and large organizations. The features includes the goals management, which helps you to set smart goal for all your employees in the organization, which makes it very clear for the employees about what they have to achieve. How to achieve all of that will be made very clear to all employees. And the continuous feedback module will allow all managers to give feedback to the team members then and there. We have like a typical issue what we have in lot of organizations is the feedback is given only once in a year, which is like often the feedback reaches the employees at the end of the year, and the employees are not given any opportunity to make any course correction. The continuous feedback feature available in Synergita will let employees understand the feedback, whether they have done a good job, or they could have done something better right after doing every task. And of course, the product supports quarterly reviews, half-yearly reviews, and annual appraisal reviews. Along with all these features comes a lot of analytical reports around employee performance. The employee engagement module takes care of implementing your rewards and recognition program within the organization, and of course you will be able to manage a loyalty reward programs and allow the employees to redeem the points once in a while. This module will keep all your employees positively engaged with the organization. The employee development module allows managers to create the employee development plan or improvement plan as needed and track them to closure. Now we will talk about explain the integration capabilities available in Synergita. As Suyash rightly pointed out, ERP and performance management are have to be two different systems. Even though ERP has got a lot of valuable data, any organization will require a specialized software like Synergita. And when you integrate both ERP and the performance management software, the organization will be able to get more benefits, and the performance management process as such becomes more effective and trustable across the organization. Synergita has excellent integration capabilities to integrate with any ERP systems such as SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft. We support both REST-based and SOAP APIs available. So when it comes to integration with the ERP, it is very important to decide the integration points. What data you want to bring from ERP into the performance management system, and what is going to be the methodology. Now, when you want to get some transactional data such as the status of the employee goals, or the achieved target of each goal of employees, you have to go for real-time integration. So like as soon as the data gets updated in ERP, the same is reflected in the performance management system. When it comes to master data such as say list of designations or list of departments, these data can be synchronized into PMS by batch integration mode. So Synergita as a product supports all both the integration methodologies. The next aspect of integration is to support bi-directional data flow. While talking about bringing the business data or employee performance data from ERP into performance management system, it is also very important to send some data from performance management back to ERP. this capability is also like very important for any software product. At Synergita, we have this capability, and we have integrated the product with ERP systems for many of our customers. As Suyash touch based about security, the ERP system is going to have sensitive data. It could be employee performance data, or it could be the organization goals. Like these data are very important, and it is very important to handle this data in a secured manner. So we have implemented all required security measures to ensure that this data is securely transmitted from ERP into Synergita, and the data is safe on transit as well. We are compliant with OWASP security standards defined for integration with ERP systems. Like all of our teams are trained about these standards, and we also go and assess the product and ensure that we meet all the standards defined as part of the OWASP project. We also go for third-party validations. The product is tested by Induspace, which is a popular security testing platform. Many banking organizations are using this platform for security testing. For example, like ICICI Bank, HDFC, and all are using Induspace. So we at Synergita see data security as a very important matter, and we have implemented world-class measures to ensure that the data is safe during transit as well as while residing within Synergita. And the product as such is hosted in AWS environment. Many of us know that AWS is one of the leaders in cloud technology, and we have hired them. The product architecture is completely service oriented. This allows us to easily integrate with other products and make the APIs or data accessible from everywhere, including mobile devices. So now we talked about many aspects about integration with ERP systems. It is also very important to ensure that we integrate PMS with all the required ERP systems. Now, when it comes to very large organizations, we have seen multiple business units using different SAP instances. Or you may have like 3 business units using SAP instances, and 1 business unit may be using Oracle ERP for some reason. So you should look for a PMS which has a capability to integrate with multiple ERP systems simultaneously. The data should flow from SAP, Oracle, and any other ERP into Synergita. So Synergita has this capability, and this increases the value of your performance management process, and it allows to get the aggregated view of data coming from multiple ERP systems. And it also opens up doors to generate lot of analytical reports, which will give lot of insights, which will help you make the right strategic decisions. Now I will talk about some of the specific integration points and pick up some case studies and explain how we can get maximum benefits out of this integration. So first we'll look at integration with say SAP and Oracle kind of systems. We will just pick a couple of integration points. The number 1 could be to pull the HRIS data from ERP into performance management. For example, say you want to analyze employee performance by their skill set or by their past work experience, education, etc. So getting this information into a performance management system will allow you to generate reports such as from which educational institute you get the very good talents from, and the people who are doing very well in the organization are coming from what background. you will be able to get these insights, which will help you to make right recruitment decisions within the organization. The second integration point could be to bring the employee goals and achievements into performance management system. So typically the employee goals are defined in performance management system during beginning of the year. Say for a marketing team, you define the number of leads to be generated per month to be 100, and the goals are set in the system approved by the manager. Now the CRM module, the marketing module in the ERP will keep a track of the number of leads generated by the each employee in the marketing team. Now, if this achieved target, the number of leads generated can come directly from ERP into PMS periodically. Say if this data is synchronized into PMS on a daily basis, then it opens up doors for the managers, employees track the achieved numbers in the performance management system. Synergita has excellent goals dashboard. So manager comes in the morning and take a look at the dashboard. He or she will get the real-time view of how much is achieved and who require help from the organization. So to get these benefits, it is very important to go for a specialized software like Synergita plus integrate it with the ERP to take the maximum benefits. So when you integrate the PMS with multiple ERP systems, it allows the organizations to get the unified view. In many organizations, different businesses are driven by multiple systems, and a lot of times it becomes very difficult to collate the data from multiple systems and aggregate the data and generate the required views. Like using Synergita, you will be able to automate this entire process. We have seen multiple very large companies using Synergita to pull the data from ERP and give access to this data to all employees in the organization. We all know that it is impossible for any organization to give access to the ERP systems to all the employees because of say it could be like more expensive or some other reason. But this integration will allow you to give access to this data to all employees in the organization. And it is also possible to generate trends across the different businesses, different teams. We have around 50 plus analytical reports which can give a lot of insights to the teams, to the HR team, to the management teams. Integration with the success factors. We have seen many organizations which use success factors are not able to use the system for all employees in the organization. For example, a 20,000 employee organization may not open up success factors for doing performance management for all its employees. So in those cases, what we have seen is say 1,000 people will use success factors and the remaining people can use Synergita. And by integrating these two systems, the HR teams will be able to get to the aggregated view of employee performance across the organization. And this opens up access to all our analytical reports, and it is going to give like a lot of insights, trends, comparison of performance over 3 years, and comparison of performance across the teams. All of that are made possible by this integration. Now, Synergita can also be integrated with the employee engagement platforms such as HiFi. HiFi is an employee rewards and recognition platform. Organizations use this product to give manage the rewards and recognition program within the organization. Now, it is possible to bring this data into Synergita. This data is also related to employee performance, and it is very important to bring all employee performance related data into a single platform. By doing this integration, you will have access to all employee performance data in a single platform, and the manager will be able to refer this data during the annual appraisal reviews. So all this information will help the managers to give assess the employee more accurately. Integration with Adrenaline. Adrenaline is a HRIS system, and as we explained the use case for integration with SAP, we will be able to bring the required HRIS data from Adrenaline into Synergita. And again, like even in this case, all users will get access to all the analytical reports available in the product. So now finally we will summarize the benefits of integrating the ERP system and Synergita. The number one benefit is you get the holistic view of employee achievements in a single platform, and this will definitely make the performance management process in the organizations more trustable, more effective. And it will also give a lot of insights to employee, manager, HR, and the management teams about where the organization is doing good and where the organization has to do better. All these can go as an input to the training department in the organization. I mean, that will overall deliver more value of the performance management process as such to the organization. And the moment all these processes are automated, the HR need not look at different systems for generating a report, or the HR need not spend time keeping all the systems updated. Well, like the data is going to flow seamlessly across all the systems, and the HR will be able to focus on like analyzing the results and coming up with the action items. They will be more playing the role of a strategic HR. And nevertheless, along with automation, the integration is also going to deliver greater business value and ROI. So overall, during this session, we have understood like what is ERP system and what is PMS, and what is the right balance which works for most organizations. And we have seen Synergita as a product which can very well integrate with any ERP systems available, and it can help you deliver greater business value to the organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Now we will pose some questions to our presenters. The first question is for Suyash. What are the factors that you should consider while choosing a performance management software that will work coherently with your existing ERP?
Okay, so there are a few aspects which you need to consider. One is, of course, the fact that you already made considerable investment in ERP, and therefore the interface with ERP, okay, the ease with which the performance management system can integrate with ERP, that's the number one factor. Okay, a lot of times when you've been buying a standalone application like performance management, there are a lot of organizations who keep the two that's ERP and the application separate because of the complications that are involved in integration. So that's definitely one aspect that you need to look at. Second is also the extent to which the performance management system can be customized, because every organization has a different policy around managing performance. Okay, there are aspects which are business driven and which an off-the-shelf product may not necessarily have always. Okay, and therefore the extent to which it can be customized and the amount of dependence that is there on the service provider, okay, the one who's developed the application, is another factor which needs to be considered. The other factor is the ease with which the data flows from ERP to the performance management system. Okay, that's the same way the reverse interface in terms of moving data back from performance management to ERP. And what typically would be the data that moves back to ERP? It's usually the critical data, like the finalized appraisal ratings, okay, which uh, uh, can be hosted in ERP, because if your compensation module is linked to ERP, that data needs to flow into that module. So in my view, these are the three things. Okay, one is the interface part of it between the ERP and PMS. Okay, without it being too much of a fanfare. Number two is the extent to which PMS can be customized and the ease with which it can be done. And the third is the ease with which the data flows back into the ERP.
Okay, thank you, Suyash. Another question is again for you. Is it essential to automate employee performance management system?
So that's a very fundamental question, if you ask me, and a very simple answer to that is yes. Uh, uh, because more often than not, you will find that if some of the core aspects of performance so if I have to really bifurcate the entire process of performance management, there are really tactical and transactional tasks involved, okay, which can fall under the compliance part of it, and then there are tasks which are about taking the level of performance from A to B, okay, at an organization level, at a team level, at an individual level, okay, and then also getting insights about how changes need to be made in terms of measuring performance, so that we're able to get most out of the existing workforce in terms of productivity, in terms of quality, etc. There are also at times strategic initiatives, okay, which need to be driven through performance management. Now, when you really have to do so many aspects, okay, and which is where the human resource function has to focus most time uh, on. If the transactional or tactical aspects, okay, are not taken care of, you'll find that the HR team will more often than not be chasing employees to complete their appraisals. They'll be just trying to collate all the forms into all the Excel based forms at one place, then ending up doing a lot of data entry related aspects, okay. So and usually, organizations have a very low threshold in terms of the time in which these insights are turned around, and you'll find that if these aspects are not taken care of through a well automated performance management system, you will miss the bus. So yes, that's the short answer, and I've already given the long answer in terms of why it's a yes.
Okay, thank you, Suyash. Here's another question for Prabhakar. Can Synergita be implemented in companies without an ERP?
Yeah, definitely. Like we cannot, expect companies of size, say 500 employees, to have an ERP. Maybe if the business is demanding, the organization may not have the ERP systems. But performance management is a very serious initiative, even for small organizations.
Okay, thank you, Prabhakar. Here's another one for Suyash. How do I decide when I should go for a PMS software? What are the factors that decide that?
Okay, so the moment you realize that you are spending more time, or your HR team is spending more time on tactical aspects, okay, on non-value addition tasks, okay, that's the first alarm bell, okay. If so, the question that you need to ask yourself is that am I focusing on the development needs of the employees? Have I been able to link the existing evaluations to the training need analysis for the year ahead? Okay, have I been able to go back to the business and say that this is the level of performance and this is the level of productivity that we are operating at, and if my business targets are to achieve whatever is the unit of achievement, whether it's in terms of the revenue, whether it's in terms of EBITs or whether it's in terms of managing certain levels of customer satisfaction, okay, then I need to be at an X+1 or X plus Y kind of a productivity, okay. If you're not talking and if you're not talking in these terms when managing performance management, that means you're largely talking on the ground of the number of employees who completed their goal settings, number of employees who completed their appraisals, or you're going back to the management setting that, in spite of starting the appraisal cycle, 20 days back, we just have about 30% of the employees who completed the appraisal. So if you got into that sort of that means that you really need a specialist application to help you manage that aspect, so that you can focus on things which are really strategic in nature and which really the business expects you to go back to them with.
Okay. Thank you, Suyash. Another one is for Prabhakar. Why should an organization that uses SuccessFactors integrate with Synergita? Is cost of license the only factor?
That's a good question. Yes, the cost is definitely one of the factors, but it may not be the only reason why SuccessFactors should be integrated with Synergita. So we have seen multiple use cases where we have seen customers using this integration as a time being arrangement to bring some of the newer teams added to the organization start using the primary performance management process. We cannot leave if we say 100 people team uses SuccessFactors, and if they have to be continue to use SuccessFactors for some reason, you can do so, but bring the data into Synergita and get to the aggregated view. And some other reasons could be that some of the excellent performance management products available in the market are very good, but it may not be flexible. We have seen solutions such as SuccessFactors are seen as rigid by many companies. If somebody is looking for a flexible solution, and they can go for Synergita for majority of the organization, and they can keep maybe like a leadership team into SuccessFactors for some reason, and the majority of the people can use Synergita, which gives them the flexibility and the cost advantage.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Now it's time to wind up a session. Thank you, Suyash and Prabhakar, for sharing experiences with us. We hope that you all had a good and informative session, and thank you for attending this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to send the email at info@synergita.com, and we will definitely send the recorded version of this webinar to all of you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.